as ever, I thought, you know, nobody wants to see just a video with me, so I always try to incorporate a friend. And this time...
You found a Joe.
I couldn't find a friend, so I phoned Joe. But I thought I'd do something a bit different today. I'm not driving anything like remotely exotic. I'm not driving a supercar. I'm not driving an Aston Martin or Ferrari, and I'm not driving through Croatia. I am driving today my very own Z3 M Coupe. I thought I'd get in contact with Joe today because Joe owns, might have given you a bit of a spoiler alert before, an M135, which is a white rear-wheel drive 2-door hatchback M car. If you look at my Z3 M Coupe, mine is a white 2-door hatchback, despite the fact that they call it a coupe, I'll come to that later, rear-wheel drive M car. So, new, old, old, new.
God, I'm glad, I'm sorry. Glad I brought my sunglasses.
Oh, there we go. That's better. Yes, again, another point very well made by Joe. Today, probably not the best day to be testing two rear-wheel drive, fairly powerful BMW M cars, because today is the 6th of January. So, admittedly, whilst it's not that cold, is it? It's not freezing cold. I say it's not freezing cold, but that's ice. You know, so it's quite cold and it's raining. You've got traction control. This thing does not have traction control. In fact, it has very little driver aids whatsoever. It does have ABS, so it will stop me locking up. But this is a 3.2 litre straight 6 M car with somewhere around 300. I mean, I just don't know. It's going to be somewhere between 320 to 350 horsepower because this isn't exactly a stock car. Oh, Joe's in.
I'm in. I wouldn't call it spacious in here. It's cosy.
It's very cosy. It is very cosy.
Does this go back? What is that?
That might be as back as it goes. Right. But yeah, so welcome to the most Japanese BMW in the world. Yep. Still has fitted the toll road card reader. So when you push buttons, so the car talks to you in Japanese, and when you turn it on, that's basically to say, hi, you're registered for the toll roads, but you haven't got a card in, because I can speak fluent Japanese. Did you know that?
Is that genuine?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I guess a couple of things to point out about the car. What makes it quirky, what makes it unusual, what makes it such an event to drive. As I said briefly before, there is no traction control. So if the roads are a bit greasy and slippery and mid-January, then you tend to find that things get a bit adventurous. The other thing that you might have already noticed in the few minutes that we've been driving is it's bloody stiff in here. The guy that built it in Japan has fitted KW competition coilovers, so these are incredibly expensive, actually the poshest coilovers you can buy. But the drawback to them is that when you're driving along a country road in Buckinghamshire, everything gets a little bit bumpy. Other observations about driving the car, and again the reason why you need to concentrate so much when driving this thing, is the clutch and flywheel in this thing are incredibly high performance. So it's got a lightened flywheel, which basically means that it revs like a bike. So the revs go up and drop, up and drop, up and drop. The clutch that's also been fitted is, I'm guessing, a twin plate, because it's very snatchy. You physically have to heel and toe when you change down a gear in this car, because if you don't, you will lock up the back wheels. It's not a case of it's better to do it for the gearbox, it's better to do it for the handling. You have to, because if you don't, the back end will step out. That clutch is so snatchy that it will lock everything up. So for example, when you change down, a little blip on the revs just to bring the engine speed up and match it. If you don't do that, this is what happens. So I'm just going to go from third to second. So that is the sound of the back wheels completely locking up, which is not ideal. It's fine if you're going in a straight line, it gets a bit scary and it can sort of wake you up a little bit. But if you are going round a corner, for example, and you do that, the back end will go. It will just woof, swing, gone, pendulum. You have to concentrate so hard because this car will bite hard.
Wow. Oh wow.
So that second to third gear. That's not changing down, that's not clutch kicking, that is changing from second to third gear, accelerating. It will go, it will slide, it will snatch, it will surprise you, it will scare you. It keeps you alive, keeps you awake, keeps the heart rate high. Modern BMW M cars, and this includes E46 M3s, they're filtered, so you have a number of settings as standard as you drive them, which basically counteract the power. So my E46, for example, if I drive it along with the traction control on, it's cutting the brake horsepower down by around 50 or 60 horsepower, so it's not allowing the full amount of power to go out. It's exactly the same and even more extreme in the newer cars. The new BMW M2 that I drove recently, you've got something, or you had one, it's something like 6 settings you've got to actually drive the thing, and then if you want actual full-on raw power, you have to hold your finger down on buttons and, you know, solve equations and tickle the exhaust and do all sorts of other things.
Feel like you're signing your life away, basically.
This, however, this is of the E36 era, so this is the era where BMW basically said, you're going to buy something that might kill you, be careful. And that was it, that was the disclaimer, that was about as extreme as it got.
Got the pickup on it, it does when
it's just instant.
It's instant, but it also feels like it's like supercharged or something, the way it comes in, the power comes in.
It gets up to a certain point and basically just ignites, it just goes berserk. So we've got a small stretch of straight road before a red light. So we'll go second gear to turn the air conditioning off, or first gear, and just literally parking power straight line. It's instant. That's how instant it is.
I feel like I've got sea legs, you know, when you go off a boat and you're just like, I'm still alive.
So I've introduced Joe to the fun that is the M Coupe. So I thought I'd take this opportunity just to walk you around the car and explain the things that are slightly different and a bit quirky. So the first thing you're going to notice, and the first thing that might confuse a lot of people, as it often does, is the fact that the steering wheel is there and not there. This is the United Kingdom, and this car, as I've said a couple of times before, was imported from Japan. So why is the steering wheel on the left hand side? Well, the shortest and quickest and briefest answer to that question is, in Japan back in the 90s, in fact, well, back for many years, the Japanese liked to have their cars homologated to their country of origin. So essentially it meant that you could walk into a BMW dealership, Mercedes dealership, Lamborghini dealership, Ferrari dealership, and all of the cars there would be left hand drive. That is just the way that they were, and a lot of people in Japan still continue to work to that same ethos and have left-hand drive cars. For me personally, I actually really like it. TE37 wheels, you may or may not know that. There may be some JDM fans that know exactly what a Raise Engineering TE37 Volks wheel is. This is them. It's a typically Japanese wheel. It is exactly what you would expect to see on a Nissan Skyline R32 or even some R33s. Basically anything JDM, they fit these things because they are awesome. So they're incredibly light. So with the tyre fitted, it's about 8 kilos. Whoever has built this car in Japan has done so basically to have an amazing track toy. So its weight saving is the #1 game. So the first thing is the wheels. The second thing, the back windows. So this one, and this one, as you can see, they're bendy, they're PVC. So they've taken the glass out, which is heavy, and replaced it with PVC, which is light. All the sound deadening, soundproofing, plastics, auxiliaries, amplifiers, all the things you would expect to see in the back end of a BMW are gone. They're in the bin somewhere in Japan. There are 2 items on this car that have been fitted for lightweight, but I personally absolutely hate them. This is the first one. These mirrors, they are carbon fibre. Obviously they've been fitted to make it very light, but they are categorically useless. The other very Japanese thing, which I am just not keen on, unfortunately, are these angel eye headlights. Some people really like them. I really don't. I tend to find that standard is best when it comes to headlights and things, but it's a very Japanese thing to do. So, plastic windows, super lightweight wheels, super lightweight lights, super lightweight wing mirrors, and of course, the last one is the bonnet. It's made of fiberglass. That on the standard car is one enormous piece of steel, so as you can imagine that would weigh an absolute ton. So again, brilliant man in Japan has done the amazing thing of sourcing a fiberglass bonnet, which makes it very light. The other thing that makes it so incredible is the bits you can't see. Unfortunately, you can see the top of them in the back, but no, you're not going to be able to see them. It's the suspension. So it's got KW competition coilovers on each corner, which means that you have the handling and ability of a race car. This is, for all intents and purposes, a race car that is road legal, which is hilarious. If for any reason, this is my vocal disclaimer, if for any reason the back end steps out and it looks like I'm drifting, I'm not. It's not intentional. It's because I have lost grip at the back and I am controlling my car and keeping it in control in the safest possible way by continuing at the regulated speed. That's me done. 60 miles an hour, it's the legal speed limit, this is fine. Just looks faster because it's a small car. We made it, we're back in the car park. And we are losing daylight hours now, it's getting a bit dark. Damn you, January and Britain and winter. Do you want to drive this?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Do you mind?
I don't mind.
I won't abuse it at all, obviously. I'm actually scared I'll be scared of that right pedal for the first time. I'm actually a bit terrified about this car.
So, I'm now in Joe's, oh, it's keyless, modern day equivalent, M135i. I don't know if I'm excited about watching my own car drive away or if I'm slightly nervous. Maybe slightly nervous. So immediately, as soon as I jump into this, I'm pulling away, I'm putting my foot down, I'm expecting to get slipped from the back, and I can feel that the power is filtered. Of course, this car is going to be fly-by-wire, which means that you have a sensor in the accelerator pedal that then tells the throttle bodies how far to open, whereas the Z3 is cable driven, so you've actually got a cable that links directly from the pedal up to the engine. So there is no filtration, there's nothing, it's a direct feed from foot to throttle. In this, you've got the fly-by-wire, which means that there are computers and there are things constantly analysing, are the wheels going to slip. It takes into consideration things like the air temperature, the moisture in the air, the likelihood of if the back wheels are going to slip or slide. So there are constant adjustments, and even there, I mean, if I shift to second like this and I put my foot down, you see how it slowly lurches in. This is a 3.5 litre engine. That should, like the Z3 does, go and spin up the back end and become an absolute hooligan, but it doesn't, because again, foot to the floor, it's constantly adjusting. It's saying, is it safe, is it going to slip, is it wet, which does mean that pretty much anyone can drive this. If I play with these settings, so I'll go Sport Plus with traction control off, so it's telling me here on the dashboard that the traction control is off, so that should mean in second gear, revs, clutch up, it's still kicked in. It's not, it's a lie, it's a lie. So this is what I was talking about earlier. You have to really fiddle around with the settings in these cars in order to actually make the traction control turn off. And it's a completely different experience. All of you that are about my age, you know, I'm 29, there's going to be a lot of you that are slightly younger than I am. My dad, for example, yeah, my dad would always say, you know, driving proper cars was Escort Mark 1s or Escort Mark 2s or Capris. And do you know what? They're right, because whilst they're not as powerful as the cars we've got today, they were raw, they were real. The power that you put down went directly to the back wheels, and there was nothing in between that was filtering it or calming you down or stopping you from crashing or stopping you from spinning. You were, you know, your daddy's kind of right when he says, I know how to drive. Because chances are, if he's a car enthusiast that's got you into being a car enthusiast, he was driving something along the lines of that rather than this. It's vital that you have a real understanding and a real appreciation for cars like this. You know, when you do see E36 M3s driving on track days, when you see Z3Ms driving on track days, there is so much more concentration that needs to be considered with driving those cars fast. But I have to say though, driving this thing is wonderful. They are so lovely to drive, they're so easy to drive. Again, I can feel it slipping, but the car is still, you might have seen a little wobble there. That's the car just keeping everything in check. awesome car, highly competitive. You know, this thing will embarrass a lot of much more expensive cars on track, but it's still not real. And for me, that's not good enough.
Wow.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I'm not. Most cars don't scare me, but to be fair, the weather, the conditions, the light, the traffic, everything, I was just so paranoid. I kept leaving the indicator on, as you probably saw. I was going right when I had the left on. And I was thinking about too many things. The feedback, the steering in it, everything. You know what you'd like.
yeah.
Yeah. 1 mile an hour faster in that car is like turning it up a whole nother 3 levels, where 10 miles an hour faster in that, it's like, okay, well, has the wind noise gone up a little bit? Is that the engine we can hear there? I'm not sure. Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say Joe likes it.
I love it. Thanks, mate. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Maybe on a sunnier, warmer, lighter day next time.
Drier. Yes, not a day where it's raining with puddles.